Hello everyone! Today is a very exciting day when my camera decides to adjust its color balance. I will be honest with you, I have been trying to film videos for this weekend and I filmed maybe half of like 2 or 3 video ideas, but I'm struggling with my mental energy at the moment. And then today I went out and I sat in a cafe and did some sketching and I realised that I basically finished the sketchbook. You can see it's been through the wars a little bit. Me and the sketchbook have been through a lot together over the last while. And so I thought, what would be better than to go through this sketchbook together since I'm so excited about it. And I think that one thing I'm learning is that I really have to make the videos that I am excited about and not worry about what I had planned to post or what I feel like I should be posting. So that's what we're doing today. So this is I want to say it's a 14 by 14 square sketchbook, 14 by 14 centimeters that is, by Hanemüller. And it is their DNS series of sketchbooks. So it's just like basic sketch paper, like 140 GSM, just a sketchbook. And I picked this up when I got this specifically to go traveling last year when I went to the UK in October, and it's been with me until now, the beginning of April 2023, which isn't that bad actually. And there's a lot of exciting stuff in here, and so I thought, since it's so fresh in my mind, especially the end, maybe I will share it with you now. I'll add that if you like sketchbook tours, I have so many sketchbooks and I really would love to share them all with you. So if you'd like to see more in the future, then please do consider subscribing to the channel because there's a lot of sketchbook content that I have the capacity to provide. Without further ado, let's get into it. So what's on the first page? So this is the first date that you can see that I started it on October 16th and now it is April, I don't know what the date is, April 5th maybe? And this was me swatching out my October colour palette that I was going to take with me travelling. So you can see I had like a couple of felt tips, watercolour, some Neocolour crayons in this nice like blue and orange and brown colour palette. So just breaking in the sketchbook, really also testing the paper. I'm sure I'll have more to say about the paper as we go along. So this was, I was staying at a friend's house in Brussels and we were just hanging out. And so she has a beautiful apartment full of plants. And so I was really inspired to draw this plant just while I was sitting there waiting for her or something. And I like how this turns out. I like the forms of the leaves. And this was another one I drew sitting in her kitchen. I really like how I introduced the idea of flowers here without being too literal. And this is, she has a black cat. And you know when you take a picture of a black cat and they just look like a blob? I thought it'd be really fun to do this in like a negative space. And this actually led me to do no fewer than I think 2 birthday cards for a couple of friends who have cats in a very similar style to this, which I love. These are more drawings of the same cat, and just the opposite way around with the orange felt tip pen here, and then a sleepy boy. So these were all done pretty close together, but I love the simplicity of the lines. So this was, we went to an art store while I was there in Brussels visiting her, and these are the things that I purchased there. I got quite a lot of graphite supplies because they had some different graphite pencils that I hadn't seen before. Very exciting. And this was a picture that I drew only in Neocolour, Neocolour 2, as you can tell by the fact there's like a little water splotch on there, of a photo that I found on someone's Instagram story. And actually, I really like how it turned out. I mean, I think it was quite complicated, but the wonky perspective kind of works. And I think that the value distribution is quite pleasing. So these were drawings I did in a museum. I think I was now in Cambridge in the UK and I was drawing old coins. So just like very basic depictions of the designs and an old key with like a little lamp on the top, which is pretty crazy. And then like some of these creatures like you see in like Celtic manuscripts. And also in museums, you quite often have a lot of pottery, drawing different shapes of vases and jugs and pots, just in simple pencil. Oh, skipped a bird there. I think I purchased, would you believe, even more art supplies. Or maybe this was my full collection that I had with me at that time. You can see how these colours work together so well. I really love like this basic grid swatching, really gave me an overview of the materials I had with me. And then this was just expanding, I think, on the previous sketches I'd done, but including more fun backgrounds and just using 2 different colours of Neocolor, so super chunky crayon lines, which are really good for loosening up and just getting in bolder graphic shapes. So I like this checked background. And then I did one with sort of spots, but I added a little bit of water to the spots to sort of dilute them out, so you get this kind of, I don't know, almost like a leopard print look. I really like the shapes of these pots. And again, probably saw this shape on a previous page with the stripes in the background. Oh wow. I really haven't looked through these beginning drawings in so long, but I really love this orange. It's really cool. Well done, past Jules. I'm not so sure about this one, but you know, it's all part of the process. And I can see where I was going. I was doing the shadow and like a lighter, like leaving the shadow white instead of colouring it in. I don't know. It was an experiment. I think that this was experimentation I did because I had like a few watercolours with me and I was just like splotching them on the page and then like going over the edges in coloured pencil and trying to make like abstract shapes and designs out of it. And I think I was doing these because I actually felt really sick while I was on this trip. That's something to add. So I was like feeling a little bit sorry for myself, and this is just like so meditative and easy to do even if you're just like in an Airbnb room or whatever. But I really like this red and blue with the colour pencil note. Love it. And again, I skipped a page, I guess maybe because I was worried about the water. And I did the same thing, but using like water-soluble graphite. And I really love how these look a little bit like maps or something. I can imagine this being really effective if translated to like a bigger scale. And I really like what I did here, like connecting the major components of the map with these bridges. This is so cool. It's almost like when you look back on stuff you drew, you can't believe you did it. And then these were drawn from life at the Cambridge Botanic Gardens, one of my favourite places in the whole wide world. Just sort of warming up with some, I think this was a graphitint pencil, so a water-soluble graphite, but with a little bit of pigment in it. And just basic plant shapes, you know, super loose, super fast. Just getting in the idea of the leaf shapes. And then I was sort of warming up a little bit. You can always tell when I've warmed up a bit because the drawings get more representational. Oops. Oh wow. Well, I won't linger on this one, but I was practicing drawing faces. I think I was probably using line of action. These were probably like 10-minute or less face drawings. But, you know, I'm not a portrait artist, put it that way, but it could be worse. They're recognizable as humans. Another abstract. Let's cover her for a second. I quite like this abstract shapes using water-soluble graphite. Maybe I should go back to doing that. I love the simplicity of a monochrome medium. She's horrifying. I'm so sorry to this poor lady. You deserve better. But it's okay. We learned. Oh, and these were like literally 30-second or 1-minute drawings from Line of Action. And I remember doing these sitting on a bed in an Airbnb just outside of London the day before my friend's wedding. And you can see I didn't finish the other side of this guy's mustache. What is this guy doing? I do not know. I don't know, but it was like super fun to like loosen up, draw some bad faces, and just realize that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're bad. And it also gives you a feeling of like ways to abstract face shapes so you can draw them quickly, or you could simplify them, you know? This is absolutely stuff of nightmares. I'm so sorry to these poor people. Here I drew maybe I was thinking of trying to do like a mandala thing. I think this was actually, so this was October. I don't know if I used this again for a couple of months. I think I was planning on drawing a mandala on that page. That didn't happen. I'm messing around with these like geometric designs, probably inspired by Lou Davis on YouTube. I'll link her channel if I remember. More abstracts. Yeah, so you can see this is now December. I remember sitting in a cafe. This was my December color palette. Really love that. And then these sort of pebble shapes fitting in a larger shape. Still like that concept, still like how that looks. And same thing again with this sort of like bean and pea layout, as I like to call it. And just some contour lines in contrasting colors of, this is just like felt tip pen. Just, you know, no pressure to fill the whole page, just draw some lines and enjoy the process. And then this I drew, I think I was visiting my boyfriend, and I drew this sort of abstract cloud with like these medieval etching style lines, which I really love doing. I find it so relaxing. And this is all kind of art that I'd like to do more of, honestly. Oh, and I went to the art store, I bought myself some more luminance pencils. So this was the day that I bought those. It was maybe January, December, January. But this was sort of, I guess, maybe inspired by wood grain. This, just lines and dots and following the lines as wherever they go. Again, it's like a drawing, it doesn't require any thinking. So I was on the train home from visiting my boyfriend. This looks like a total mess, but I will explain. I was on the train home from visiting my boyfriend, and I was listening to some new genres of music. I'd been exploring some new genres of music, and I thought, what if I drew what a song sounds like to me? You know, just like listen to the song and draw shapes and patterns and lines that remind you of the sounds that you're hearing. I have a little bit of synesthesia. I can't really explain it. It's not 100%, but I definitely have a feeling that I associate with sounds. So this is the song that I was listening to when I drew that. Doesn't even necessarily mean that I love the song. It's just like, this is what it sounded like. And then I started getting a bit into it and did this. Very dynamic. I guess that the lines at the bottom are usually probably like the bass line, because I used to play music when I was younger, so I guess I have this association with vertical layout and pitch. This is quite a fun one, isn't it? These little marks. Again, it's like something which I could probably maybe sample and turn into a larger idea if I felt like it. I did quite a lot of these apparently. Quite like this like cone shape I was trying to infer in these big blobs. Very interesting. Be interesting to go back and listen to these songs again, which is why I wrote them down, I guess, and see if I still have the same feelings. Oh, and another one. I do know this song. This song I like a lot. I absolutely love this like shaded off-center circle in the background. Really cool. And this was on the same train journey, so probably just a different branch of the train journey. And I think I saw a drawing, like some graffiti on the side of a train car that was parked. That was like a bird with like this tear coming out of its eye. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I decided to take it a little bit further and try out some different animals. And I think I also did some more of these later in the sketchbook. So I've got a rabbit and an eagle, I don't know. And a bird with very interesting, almost Egyptian looking legs. And I don't know what this is. Is this Pisces? I don't know if you'd noticed if fish were crying since they're underwater. And a tiger. I'm not very good at drawing tigers, but I think that kind of actually adds to the effect. And then this dragon, which I've since tried to turn into a lino cut because I really love this dragon. I think just the shape of it is so good. I also think these make quite cute little tattoos if you scaled them down. But this was again just using a felt tip pen or drawing on a train, so it's super bumpy. Wait, was this immediately? Oh yeah, no, these were the ones that I drew immediately afterwards when I was filming my cafe, sketch with me in a cafe vlog when it was snowing. So we have like another bird, more like a blackbird or something, and a fox. You can see like I really just followed this idea of the simplified animals. Who's chameleon? Drawing chameleon with no reference is highly amusing. And the same thing with this lizard. This is definitely not how lizard eyes go. But I don't know, there's something about the wonkiness of them that is charming. Yeah, and I also drew this in this video, so you can see again this bean and pea pattern, but I shaded it this time using the colours that were in my January palette. And then at some point I went to the art store and I saw that they had these liquid charcoals from Schminke. And I think they're like a watercolour, so if you dry them they should re-wet. But it has like these 3 different tones of black. So you've got like the neutral, the warm and the cool. And I saw them in these little tubes and checked them out, and I swatched them in here. Just feel, I can see it on my thumb, little smudgy. Oh, and this was drawn, I was feeling really sick, but I decided to take myself out on a local museum trip. So I went to a museum literally less than a kilometre away from me in my city, and I drew these little creatures from old manuscripts that were there. I really like them, especially this guy. And then these were from like old masters paintings, I think I referenced, because they often drew birds in really jaunty poses, if you look at some of those paintings. So there's a kingfisher and another little bird. And also some of these value studies of landscapes, I find them super interesting to take a landscape painting, stand way back and just scribble in a small square the layout of the lights and darks. Again, maybe something I could potentially use as inspiration in the future. More birds. A little bit derpy, but you know, it's a sketchbook. And then finally they had like a collection of, well not finally, but they had a collection of shells and like fossils and stuff in a display case. And so I drew some of those from life using just like a Pentel pocket brush pen. So it has this like lovely dry brush texture. So just like sketching the shape of the shells and just blocking in a bit of the shadows and the patterns. More of the landscape value studies, but I think I got tired and had to go home. Okay, so this was, I got some Liquitex acrylic inks, which I would really love to play with. I've just not got around to it yet. So this is like a little mini art haul I got where I got the sketchbook that I'm currently using, actually, not this one, but my main one. And so I got this fluorescent red and this muted violet and muted grey, I think, and I love them so much. So I'm excited to use those. And then this was another day when I went to an aquarium nearby. So I recently rediscovered my love for aquariums and drawing fish from life. So I think that if you look at the amount of pages we have left in the sketchbook, the number of them that you will see are just like drawings of fish in crayon. It's quite large. So this kind of starts here. I was trying to use coloured pencil, but I wasn't satisfied with. When you're standing up, it's kind of hard to put pressure on the page, so you don't always get the maximum colour payoff, and it was a little bit frustrating. So these were some turtles. And then I switched to using the crayons. So these were some of the fish that I drew, the first ones. And some more. I was trying to draw them from different angles, but drawing fish head on is really hard. What's this guy's deal? I don't know. I love him. It was so fun to just stand there at the aquarium and draw the fish. And sometimes going over the both pages. Just really bold shapes and trying to maybe even exaggerate a little bit the lines and the, yeah. You have to draw quickly when you draw fish. They're always moving. But I kind of like how I turned that sort of dynamic shape into a flat, like 2D, very 2D illustration. And I find that I can't do the same thing from photos. I can't simplify like this if I'm drawing from a photo because it's because it's there for a longer time, I feel like I have to put more effort in. So I guess maybe I'd have to just like put myself on an extremely short timer. But I really love Mr. Page. So this is how the seahorse was attaching to the seaweed that it was on, and then the anemones and the way they flow in the water. Another fish, little whiskers. I really liked these big, bold scales, and I tried to emphasize that in this sketch. So these are all just done using the Neocolor crayons from Caran d'Ache. They're just like a better Crayola crayon, really. But I find them so good to just get lines down on the page in a very satisfying way. Just a little pointy guy, little stripy guy. And then this was the fish that I used as reference in my mixing violets video, where I made a version of this fish but in watercolor. And they had a puffer fish. This is the puffer fish. He wasn't puffed, but that's probably a good thing because that probably means he'd be stressed. But every tank had like a different shape of fish, and I was trying to capture all the different shapes. A Picasso fish. I think I felt the need to name it because I really wanted to look at more of these fish maybe, and I didn't think that I would find it again based on my illustration, which was a little interesting. I also like that I named these ones. The pearl gourami is pretty cute, huh? And I like these glass catfish where you can see all the skeleton from the outside. And then I was just sketching some corals, just in felt tip pen. But I think that was the last sketches that I did on that trip because I was getting pretty tired, so I stopped. And then again, every time I go to a city that has an art store, I have to go to the art store and I have to buy myself some things. So these are the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils that I bought on this trip. So I really do accumulate them slowly over the months. I also bought one pan pastel in ultramarine, and I actually, you should be lucky you can't see the chaos outside of this little section of the table, because I actually bought another pan pastel since then. I'd love to play with them more, so I was just checking how it layered with all the pencils and what it would be good for, but I kind of like just the stripes on the background. And then this was me swatching my Derwent Lightfast pencils on the day that I bought them. Just sitting in a cafe. And then yet another aquarium trip. Well, actually it was a zoo trip, but I only drew at the aquarium. I don't know, I'm not that interested in drawing other animals, I find. I just want to look at them. But fish I want to draw. So this was just warming up again. Really loose with the anemone here. Kind of fun. This flatfish, oh, they're so weird the way they have like both eyes on the same side, but they're actually asymmetrical. I'd put him on a t-shirt. And he looks so suspicious. Oops. Oh, the shark. I love him. I could never draw this from a photo. Look at this. I absolutely just love the simplicity of this shape. I know it's nothing special, but to me this is so fun. I also had my boyfriend with me on this trip, so it was I couldn't just stand around, for hours and draw. It was also getting towards the end of the day, so we had to sort of hurry up. And I just did these jellyfish, various angles. Do you like jellyfish? One of these guys which had instead of having the frills around the tentacles around the edge, they just had them in the middle, like one would imagine. And these basic shark shapes. So there was like one of those tunnels, that goes under the water, and so you could see the sharks from underneath. I don't think I really nailed that, but it's hard. More fish, very clumsily drawn. Stripy fish. I think I made this one up in the end because the fish moved by the time I wanted to finish drawing it. One of these mermaid's purse egg sacs, can't remember what kind of fish it was. And another even more flowing anemone. Just really loose sketches. And then changing tack completely, this is cut to a couple weeks later. I was sitting outside a cafe And I was thinking about doing some black lettering for the first page of my new sketchbook, and I wanted to practice. I didn't really end up using this concept at all, but I did this letter F, which I quite like. Not bad, but like a total change of tack from the rest of the sketchbook, of course. But I find if I try and stick with a theme for a sketchbook, then I just get afraid of using it, you know. Another drawing I did at that cafe of the flowers that were on the table. It's so messy, but I don't hate it. And then drawings I actually did today, as of filming it. I went back to a cafe. This is my cafe and outdoor sketchbook. In case you can't tell, I often like to take a smaller sketchbook with me for those occasions. And I was drawing the flowers on the table. So there's like some dead daffodils, effectively, seen better days. But I love these, the lines that were in them and the shapes, and like working out different ways to block in the colours. Me and my friend were talking about negative space and how you could draw the worst thing ever, but if you colour in the background, it looks like you meant it to be that way. And so we're calling this one abstract. I do like the shapes though. And then at some point, I think there were only these 3 daffodils in the vase, and I got a little bit bored of drawing them, so I just decided to play around with my pencils and draw some patterns, because I don't necessarily absolutely love how this paper takes pencil. It sort of dents very easily despite being quite a heavy weight. It doesn't have the best tooth for accepting it. It seems almost a little soft, like it is spongy. So I was just looking to finish the sketchbook at this point, really, so I could move on to a different one for my trip this weekend, which I'm procrastinating packing for by filming the sketchbook tour. So I did this with messing around my April colour palette and seeing what shapes I could turn into a pattern. I actually really like this. I like the implied like rectangles. I didn't even see those at the time I was drawing it. And this one with like these little, almost like a locket or something. Some big bold stripes with like the scribbly filling in of these shapes. Very satisfying to me to look at. I like this light yellow colour too. And I think this is the final page in the sketchbook, and it was these checks. I realised I hadn't done a grid pattern yet, so I drew some really wonky grid lines and then filled these in with the orange and then did the purple bits. And I think this is possibly one of my favourites. I think I should do more pattern design, because I really had fun just like mindfully playing around with my materials and making nice patterns in my sketchbook. And that's the whole thing. So yeah, would I recommend this sketchbook? This is like, I was just watching some watercolour on the back page. I don't know. I think if you're just sketching with graphite and you just want like a relatively inexpensive sketchbook to just play around in, then you could do worse. Would I buy another one? Not right away. Maybe in the future, I guess, if I need to switch it up. But I am grateful to the sketchbook for everything that it has given me and all of that we have been through together over the last few months. And I hope you enjoyed seeing it. Let me know what your favourite spread was, if you've got any ideas from this, if you have any suggestions for me of things I should do in my future sketchbooks or other videos you'd like to see me make, because I'm very motivated to make videos when I get this lovely interaction with you guys in the comments. And thank you so much for coming with me on this journey, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everybody.